How's it going, Turbo Tits? And in today's video, I'm going to be telling you how realistically strong and what realistic numbers you can expect to hit in the gym after a year of training. Most of you have probably already watched the video that I posted on my Instagram and on here, and it was by far and away the most views that I've got on here so far, at 50,000 last time I checked, and it was off a guy who's just trying to be me, talking about realistic strength numbers that most people should be able to hit after a year of training. And the whole video was just stupid to begin with. It was a whole stupid concept, but even just foregoing that, the actual numbers that he gave were just absolutely mental, and I just do not know where he pulled them from and what he's basing it off it. And apart from the fact that I consider myself a not bad strength coach, and I've got a pretty decent track record of getting people objectively pretty strong, I can't say that I've hit any of these numbers many times myself. Maybe the odd outlier, which I will get into, but I certainly went on his page and did not see anybody that he's coached hit these numbers. So again, I just do not know from where in his arse he has pulled the numbers from. But don't worry, I'm going to tell you realistically what you can expect to hit after a year of proper training, and what I would consider actually a good level of strength. And I know now, because of Instagram and social media, and you're bombarded with just loads of people and the best of the best in a lot of cases, and that's what you're comparing yourself to, and these are the outliers. This is not realistic for most people. I want to tell you what a good base level of strength is after a year of training, and it's certainly achievable for somebody like yourself watching this. Or if you've already done your first year of training, you'll know if what you've done was actually good or not, and obviously what sort of standing that leaves you in now. And the numbers were, if you haven't seen, 180 kilo deadlift, a 140 kilo squat, a 100 kilo bench press, and a 60 kilo shoulder press. Just concrete numbers thrown out like that, black and white, with no context behind it. I actually don't know where I want to start with this, because I could tell you why doing 1 rep maxes in your first year of training is stupid, or why just using arbitrary numbers for every person as a blanket rule is really stupid. I'll probably start off with that. I'll probably talk about why just given the numbers in the way he did just didn't make any sense, and I did pretty much address this in the second part of the shorts, which was on the full Instagram video, but nobody on YouTube seen the second part of the video because it was too long and I had to break it down. So where shall we start with this? First of all, one of the most important factors in how strong you can be in terms of the actual amount of weight you can lift is your body weight. And obviously defining somebody as strong or not strong is going to be in relation to your body weight. And he's obviously just said the 4-plate deadlift, and that's probably the most egregious thing he's done, is called it plates instead of just calling it 180 kilo deadlift. And saying as a blanket rule, that's what most people can realistically do. Just not even mentioning the body weight, because let's just say, for example, you're a 120 kilo guy. Yeah, you could definitely do 180 kilos, but in relation to your body weight, it's not actually that much. It's about 1.5 times your body weight. If you were on the smaller side and you were a 60 kilo guy, then we're now talking about a triple body weight deadlift, which puts you at like an elite level of strength for any human being on the planet. So you're now actually using that statement to say that you can become an elite level lifter within a year. I don't expect him in a 20-second reel to go around every single body weight and say what would be good or what wouldn't be, but I would expect a little bit more context than just throwing out arbitrary numbers and totally disregarding body weight. Another thing he's totally disregarded, which is very important here, is age, because obviously when we are talking about first year of training, some people get into training when they are in their early teens, some in their late teens, maybe some of you in your late 20s, and then obviously you do get some people who do start a little bit later, into their 30s and beyond. And age, you know what? Age may actually make an even bigger difference than body weight, because obviously if you are a teenager just starting off lifting in the gym, then you are so far away from the peak strength that you will be in your lifetime, and that's obviously going to be like a massive, factor in the weights that you are lifting. And I can guarantee you that if you are starting lifting in your teens and comparing yourself to somebody who started lifting in their 20s, the person who's in their 20s is going to just be naturally stronger. So like, again, excuse the numbers again, and you just saying an arbitrary figures to go and hit, it's just pointless. It just doesn't make any sense at all. And again, it's even more reason why you just shouldn't have made a blanket statement like you did. And again, all you young guys watching this, don't even think about these numbers in the slightest, because again, that is maybe for the outliers. As 20-year-olds, these numbers can be hit. And this just makes it even more ridiculous that he's decided to make a blanket statement like he did, because again, people in their first year of training is going to be all different ages, and that is going to be a big driver in terms of the numbers that you can hit. And I could list several other variables that's going to dictate your progress in that first year of training, from your exercise history to your lifestyle to your overall just genetics, and it just makes it even more confusing about why he's just made such a blanket black and white statement like that and just use these concrete numbers. And I get it's hard trying to condense content into a short window, and you do have to be concise, but just a tiny wee bit of, you know, nuance would have been great, and just not using so like black and white numbers, which I'm going to get to. Now, the numbers you can expect to hit, and I will start off by saying that in your first year of training, it's pretty pointless doing a 1 rep max. Apart from the fact you're still very inexperienced, and 1 rep max is very much a skill, and you are going to be more prone to injuries, and, you know, it's something you're going to have to get better at over time. But there's just no real point in doing it, because those numbers you do in your first year, you're going to be able to throw out pretty quickly. Like your rate of gains in those early years when you've got your newbie gains, you are just going to progress like really quickly, and obviously, you know, it does slow down over time. So like if you can do, let's just say like 100 kilos on a bench press or whatever, I can guarantee you that 1 rep max in a couple months time, just through natural progression alone, you're going to be up at like 105, 110. So yeah, it's good to get an arbitrary like figure on a page right now, but it's not going to mean like anything in the long term. And I personally never done a 1 rep max until I was 5 years into training. And that 1 rep max that I done, by the way, was a 260 deadlift when I was 19 years old. So that just shows you how strong you can get without having to worry about 1 rep maxes, and you can still train hard and do reps and still do, you know, sets of singles and doubles. It's not a case of like you just never lift heavy, but you should never be at a true 1 rep max where you're at absolute failure and you can't go on anymore. So I'm going to put this all from a repping point of view, and reps, we'll call it anywhere between 3 and 6 reps. So not very high reps, but something that you can get a decent amount of reps in that you're not at the absolute brink of death at. And to try and make it as inclusive as possible, I'm going to not give you just random figures off like 180 kilos or 120 kilos or whatever. And he was actually fucking too lazy to actually work out any kilo amount, so he just thought, oh, I'll just say plates and just say 1 plate, 2 plate, 3 plate, and but I'm going to give you in relation to your body weight, and again, these are rough figures. I'm going to give you a range, so you know, you might be at the higher end of the range, you might be at the lower end of the range, you might even get some outliers that go above the range on some exercise, but I'm just going to give you some rough figures that you can work off it. So we're going to start off with the deadlift, and in my opinion, a good level of strength that's realistic for most people to get to within a year of deadlift that would actually impress me, I would say between about 1.5 to 1.8 times your body weight. Being within that range and getting reps at it, I think is definitely achievable for most people. So let's just say you're like an average guy who probably weighs about 80 kilos. You being able to rep between 120 kilos and 145 kilos roughly, I would say that's realistic, and I would say it's going to be pretty decent in your first year of training. You could probably get some outliers that do get up to repping 2 times their body weight, but again, I think that is like an outlier and not like a general rule for most people. So that's what I think is a good amount for deadlift. Back squats next, and obviously that's a bit of a harder movement to get a grip off than deadlifts. And I think for most people, if you can get somewhere between 1.4 to 1.6 times your body weight, that's pretty decent, and that's pretty impressive in your first year of training. So again, 80 kilo guy, if you can get between 110 and 130 kilos just roughly of, you know, good reps, I think that's pretty good. Not going to bullshit you and try and impress you with like really good numbers, and I just think that's just like what's actually pretty decent and realistic for most people. As always, you do get the outliers, but again, these people come sort of few and far between. Bench press is a bit of a funny one, because bench press is very much lever dependent, and you do get a lot of outliers on both ends of the spectrum. You get some people that are just like really strong at bench press and nothing else because they've just got like the really short arms, and you get some people that are strong at pretty much every other movement but just not that strong of bench press because it just doesn't suit your levers, and you're looking at a guy here that falls into that category. Comfortably repping anywhere between about 0.9 and 1.2 times your body weight, I think that's really achievable, and I think that that's actually a pretty good start to your training. The 80 kilo guy, which I'm pretty sure is just my imaginary friend now at this point, if he can rep just upwards of 70 kilos, about 72.5 kilos, and probably getting as far up as 95 kilos, I think that's like a pretty decent, impressive, you know, bench press just to get started with in that first year of training and being able to rep that pretty comfortably. And again, you might think, oh, not even bench pressing your body weight. We are talking about a year of training here. We're talking about, you know, just you learning the movements and getting grips with training and your food and everything like that. Like, again, some people can pick things up pretty quick like that. Some people it's going to take time. So again, don't put too much pressure on yourself to like have everything like sorted out after a year of training, and don't think that you need to have everything sorted out after a year of training. Again, I'm just giving you figures of what I think most people should expect to get to, and again, I think if you're doing that, I think it's actually pretty good. The next one, shoulder press, and that can be a bit of a funny one because obviously it's not as popular a movement as the other three and the big powerlifting movements, and because it is a smaller muscle group and we are using lighter weights, it is a lot easier for the lighter guys to be pound for pound more stronger than the heavy guys. And I think that, you know, a 60 kilo guy's got a lot better chance of being able to do a 1 times bodyweight shoulder press than a 80 or 90 kilo guy is in their first year. I personally think if you're doing anywhere between 0.7 up to, we'll say 1 times your body weight, but I think that 1 times your body weight is really going to be just for the lighter guys. I don't think the heavier guys are going to have too much chance of that in their first year, but I think 0.7 for reps up to 1 for reps, I think that's pretty good. And if you're going beyond that in your first year of training for reps, then really impressive. So there's some realistic numbers you can expect to achieve after that first year of training, and that's coming from someone who has years of experience coaching, has coached hundreds of people, and is pretty known for getting people strong to the point where people question it all the time and actually don't believe that some of the gains has actually happened, even when they see them. And the reason that I'm quite passionate about highlighting this is because I've been there myself with a lot of you guys who are earlier on in your training journeys, and even now as a coach, and you'll see numbers and you'll start to second guess yourself and think that you're doing shit or you're doing something wrong, when really you're just seeing crap and people just like talking out their absolute arse, and you need to just try and filter all that out. And it is good to have realistic expectations and goals to try and hit, but you don't want to just get taken in by just all the nonsense and noise of fucking Instagram and social media and listen to what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. You should just be focusing on you, going in, training hard, learning, and the strength is going to come over time. So that is all from me. If you are a beginner or an intermediate or an advanced or an elite or a retired trainer, make sure you follow me. Give me a wee like as well. It costs you nothing. New videos go up every single Sunday, and if you want to see my full content and like when I post shorts on here, if you want to actually see the full ones sometimes because they're too long for here, go and follow me on Instagram. That's where all my daily stuff goes up, and you can see my client results that I post very regularly, and you can see what an actual realistic coach can do for improving people. So go and give me a follow on there. There's other cool stuff down the bottom as well. I'm not going to go into them all because my camera's about to die because I've waffled on as always. See you next Sunday for another brilliant video. Catch you soon.